Chugga 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 choo choo! All aboard the memory train!
Memory construction.
Step 1. Encoding processing of info into the memory system.
Step 2. Storage, retention of encoded information over time.
Step 3. Retrieval, process of getting info out of memory storage.
This size ball represents the incoming sensory info. It is the largest because it is the least discriminatory. You can process several different senses at once unconsciously.
This size ball represents the short-term memory. It is smaller than the sensory info because it goes through filters of attention. Only the parts of the sensory info that you pay attention to are remembered.
This size ball represents the long-term memory. It is the smallest because out of all the information you process, only a fraction makes it to the long-term memory. But these are also the things you'll remember the longest.
I represent sensory memory. Sensory memory is a buffer for stimuli received through the senses. A sensory memory exists for each sensory channel. For example, there is iconic memory for visual stimuli. Sensory memories exist for only a fraction of a second. Information is passed through sensory memory into short-term memory by attention, thereby filtering the stimuli that is interesting at a given time.
I represent short-term memory. Short-term memory acts as a scratch pad for temporary recall of information, but things are only stored here for 20 to 30 seconds. Short-term memory is very limited. Important information is gradually transferred from short-term memory to long-term memory. The more the information is repeated or used, the more likely it is to eventually end up in long-term memory.
I represent long-term memory, the final destination of the memory train. Choo-choo! Long-term memory can store unlimited amounts of information, indefinitely, and there is little decay. Where am I?
Well, Alex, you are in the hospital. It looks like you had an accident. When you were unconscious, we gave you an MRI, and you have hippocampal damage. What is the last thing you remember?
Well...
Oh no! Alex, are you okay? It looks like you fell off your horse!
And that's the last thing I remember. What's that hippocampus thing anyway?
Well, your hippocampus, that's the red part right there, is a part of your brain and controls experiences being converted into the long-term memory. We believe you're going to have a problem with making new memories from now on.
Well, that's the first thing I've learned about the hippocampus. I think.
This is a picture of the brain. The highlighted region with the arrow is obviously the hippocampus. The hippocampus acts like a sorting center where new sensations are compared with previously recorded ones. All the pieces of information decoded in the various sensory areas of the cortex converge in the hippocampus. The hippocampus is the catalyst for long-term memory, but the actual memory traces are encoded at various places in the cortex, so the hippocampus is not the only places that memories exist.
That hurts, actually. Why are you laughing at me?
Oh wow, I lost my spot. Okay, sorry guys. Okay, let's try that again.
Final destination of the memory train. Choo-choo! Long-term memory can store unlimited amounts of information in depth. And that's the last thing I remember.
Well,
My
Okay,
hipster campus.
say it again.
And that's the last...